One of the wonderful challenges that we have at ACS and that we have addressed through our ACS strategic plan is to meet the needs of our uniquely talented learners and our uniquely motivated learners. We have students who are able to fairly quickly, in many cases, get a level of proficiency, which is what we would expect for their age, for their grade level. And then we have the wonderful challenge of then finding out what is the next step in their learning. There's two areas in which this is directly addressed in the strategic plan. One is this area of personalized learning, and specifically the area of establishing structures and resources to challenge uniquely motivated and talented students. And then on the side of delivering excellence, we want to make sure that we are analyzing and sharing data to enhance learning outcomes. Part of understanding how to extend proficiency is, first of all, making sure that we have very good tools and instruction and planning in place to make sure that we are, first of all, seeing proficiency, that the standards, the learning objectives that we have set out as a school community, which are also shared by many great high-level international schools and schools around the US, that these standards of proficiency are, of course, being met by students through their work and the preparations being done by teachers. But then, of course, using that data, looking at what the appropriate next steps are to extend that learning. And of course, you'll remember this graph that we've shown in a couple other videos that explains that the most important thing is to have a very strong and rich core instructional program that addresses the needs of a large percentage of students. Now, that being said, all students that are showing proficiency should have the opportunity to extend that proficiency in ways that are both creative and are using application of the learning or even combining standards between different areas. So this is specifically when you're looking at our report card. Our reporting refers to a level of proficiency that's referred to as extending proficiency. Students are demonstrating an exceptional and consistent understanding and or the ability to transfer skills and concepts within the standard to a variety of contexts. So what does that look like? Well, for example, it's teachers teaching the math skills so that students, when they're in science class, can actually apply the math to address a science question. Or, for example, it's students who are able to collaborate and work together on different writing pieces that they've learned individually, and they have proficiency in their own writing or their own brainstorming or drafting processes, but then they're able to apply that to a social studies concept or work that they're doing to be able to demonstrate their opinions or persuade their readers. So as they're looking at standards from one area, they're able to then also apply them and use them in other areas, which ideally is what I think all of us as parents and as individuals that are working in a school want to make sure that we're seeing. Not just students that are ready for the test at the end of the week and then that might just quickly be forgotten, but students that are actually able to take the learning that we're doing in class, applying it in that class, but also apply it outside of the classroom as well too. So this is a big part of extending proficiency. It's not just necessarily accelerating, which means just going to the higher and higher grade levels. Now, one of the ways that you may interact with this as a parent is you'll see that in class, students are really working not just on the what of learning, what it is that is expected at that grade level for that subject area, but then the why of learning, really understanding the learning from a couple different perspectives, and of course the how as well too, expressing that learning in different ways. In the examples you just saw, there are students who are able to use their writing skills and use them to express different ideas for social studies, or using their math skills to demonstrate certain ideas from science. This is what you want, is you want students who are able to not just be academic beings, but really have some critical thinking skills that allow them to apply that learning in unique situations. These are the thinkers of the future and what we're looking for our students. It's always very tempting to just look to the next grade level. And there are some tools, such as our own everyday math, and ideas like their Connect Ed access that all students in KG2 to grade 5 have access to. And in particular, the area of games online so that they're able to access. These are great for practice, and they're used for skill building. If a student is not quite understanding a skill, these are great ways to practice them. Or where it says the actual grade level, that's on grade level. But then you'll also find a challenge tab, and you'll find games that are similar games, but they're at a challenge level. So they are slightly above, or they're using new skills in addition to what the regular, in this example, grade 3 at proficiency expectation would be. So this is something you can actually have your child do at home if you see that they're already demonstrating strength and fluency and comfort with the grade level expectation. Now, you also know as parents that you have access to an increasing variety, a menu of options at home as well too, things that didn't necessarily exist many years ago. For example, Khan Academy is one that's open and free for the most part for users and for students to go through processes. Our recommendation, though, is to be very careful and really communicate closely with your child's teacher before going too far and too fast with any of these areas. It's always tempting to be linear and to think about how to go faster and farther. But sometimes what that does is it will actually create gaps in learning where it looks like they're understanding more and more complex things. By the time they actually get to a deeper study of it, they don't necessarily have the conceptual understanding of those processes. They just know how to do the algorithms or do the actual mathematical process themselves. So you can use some of these resources at home, but just be careful a little bit with making sure that the conceptual understanding is truly there. And the number one way to do that is to talk with your child's teacher and ask them how they're seeing their proficiency in class, what the teacher is doing to extend their learning, not just accelerate their learning, but extend their learning in that class, and really make sure that there is challenge for your child, but again, not just going farther along the grade level continuum. So again, those are a couple ways that we are really looking to establish those structures and resources to challenge our uniquely motivated and talented students. It's through collaboration between teachers and with our elementary curriculum coordinator, Cheryl Haney, who's not only developing units with teams, but also looking at the assessment pieces for those units and looking at ways in which students can not only demonstrate proficiency, but actually demonstrate extending proficiency or extended proficiency as well. Very exciting, and for all of us who are parents, those are the kind of learning opportunities I think we really want for our children. So that's been another focus for this first semester and will continue to be a focus of our ACS strategic plan.